Hi guys, it's Jade here from Nested Knowledge. Today I'm going to walk you through how to configure a tag hierarchy. So the way to think about the tag hierarchy is that it's all of your concepts of interest in your nest. It's all the things you want to extract in your project. It's your base for data extraction. And the first thing that you want to do is to configure your tagging mode. To do this, you would go to Settings in your nest, scroll down to where it says Tagging, and you'll see Choose Mode, Standard or Form-Based. By default, your nest will be in Form-Based, meaning it will be set up in a question and answer extraction form, or you can choose to have Standard, which just means it's an open-ended list of all of your concepts that you can then extract. To show you what I mean by this, I'll show you those examples. So when you're in Form-Based mode, you'll have a question that you can answer in different types in this form, whereas in Standard, it will just be a drop-down of all of your concepts of interest that you can select from and apply those tags, extract that data in the same way. So Form-Based mode has both the questions and the drop-down, whereas Standard will just have this drop-down, that open-ended list. So to configure your tags, you want to go to the Configure Tag page, this little gear icon to the right of the tagging menu item. And the first thing that we want to do is understand the structure of the tag hierarchy. So these leftmost tags are what we call root tags. They are, the most broad concepts, and they sort of act as the organizational folders in your extraction template, in your hierarchy. The next type is a parent tag. So a parent tag is a tag that has any child tags. So an example would be study design. That's a parent tag, which has child tags of randomized control trial, prospective study, retrospective study. Before creating tags, it can be helpful to think about your tag hierarchy as mimicking a data extraction template that you have. So you'll see at the top here, we've got study details. We want to extract location, study design, trial phase, and that is because my particular data extraction template as a spreadsheet looked like this. So where my studies would be in the rows, my tags or my column headers would be in a location, study design, and these are the things that I'd want to create questions for in that tag hierarchy structure. So sometimes it can be helpful to think of it this way, and consequently, you will also be able to export that data that looks just like this. So first things first, to create a tag, you want to be in this edit mode. So select this pencil icon here, and you can go ahead and drag this blue circle into the tag hierarchy wherever you would like it. So if I pop it just here, and I can add in a tag name, so example tag, and it will update that information over here. That's one way to create a tag. Another way, I can just simply click on this blue circle. It will add one to the bottom of the hierarchy. Again, add in that information, so example tag 2, let's say. Or if you've got nothing selected, you might notice on the right hand side it says tag name. I can just start typing example tag 3, give it a second, it'll get added to the bottom of the hierarchy for you to then edit, for you to then add information to. So when you're creating your hierarchy and you're creating these parent tags, these root tags, what you'd want to do is simply add in your tag name and no other information. Since they are sort of your placeholders, they're your folders, it doesn't have a question type. You can add a description if necessary, but that's all that is needed. So what I'm going to do is actually mimic this first hierarchy that we have up here to show you what it looks like exactly to create these different types of questions. So I'll go ahead and make this study design. And then what I'll do to create the tags underneath, I'm going to drag that tag in there, give this tag name as location, and what I'm going to do is select a question type. So there are 3 different question types. The first is single apply. It's our most open-ended question type, it's our most commonly used. It's the type of question that doesn't have any child tags. So in this case, what is the study location would be our question here. And you'll notice that it turns from a blue circle to a Q for question, so we know that it is now a question. You can add in an alias at any time. This can be most helpful for field-specific studies, any acronyms that you have that would help the researcher as they're going through and extracting data. The last part is tag contents. I'll come back to that later. I would leave it as text by default. The second question type would be study design. So if I pop in study design here, and I select one of these select type questions. And the difference between single and multiple select is that single select, the research will only be able to answer with one answer. We'll only be able to select one answer. Multiple select, you can select multiple answers to answer the question. So in this case, study design, typically there's only one per record, per study. So that's going to be a single select type question. What is the study design? And since this is a select type question, we're going to need to put child tags underneath it. So again, I'm just going to drag in this tag here, randomized controlled trial, prospective study, and so on and so forth. Lastly, to show you an example of the multiple select type question, that would be something like interventions, where you know there's going to be multiple answers that the researcher has to select from, so you would put multiple select. But when in doubt, and you're doubting what type of question type do you want to select, I would always go for a single apply. To show you what these question types look like very briefly, so they make a little bit more sense, I'll quickly hop back into the tagging page. And so this would be a single apply question. You've just got, no drop-down list of answers. It's just a text box for you to answer. Whereas the select type questions, you can select from that drop-down and add some text alongside of it. Great. Next up, how to edit the hierarchy. So for the most part, you're going to be in this edit page with the pencil icon here. And it'll look like this when you have nothing selected. But let's say you want to delete a tag, you would go to the delete function up here, and you want to be careful if you already have any tags selected. So actually if I go back, let's say if I had the interventions tag selected and I select the trash icon, it will highlight this tag that I've selected. So make sure when you're deleting tags, if you've got one selected and you don't want to delete it, make sure it's unselected. But what you're going to do is select the tags that you do want to delete. So actually I'm going to go ahead and delete this since it was just a copy of what's up here. Select confirm and recursive. So what recursive means is that it will delete anything underneath a tag. So if it is a parent tag that has child tags underneath, selecting recursive will delete those as well. If you don't want that to happen, don't select recursive. But in this case I do. So we'll go ahead and delete those tags. The second thing you can do is hide tags. So a lot of times, since the tag hierarchy is so flexible, researchers like to create tags to then come back to that set of records later. So admin tags, I like to call them. But a lot of times you don't want those tags to show up in your exports, in your synthesis, so you just want to hide them. What you can do is select this I with a line through it, and then select the tags that you want to hide. So in this case, I created a question for come back to you later, just for interesting studies, but I want them hidden, so they'll look this way once you have them hidden, and they will not show up in your synthesis. Lastly, you can merge tags. So in a case where you have tags that are better off together, you just want them grouped actually rather than separate tags. So let's say in this case, these two interventions, they're most commonly reported together rather than apart. So actually I want to merge the data with these two tags. What I can do is select the tags. It will always give you a warning, what extracted data is going to be merged, and then you can select merge. Lastly, you can always reorder tags. So the way that the tags are shown in this hierarchy is the way that they're shown in the form. So study detail questions will be shown first, then interventions, then patient characteristics, and so on. But let's say you want to answer patient characteristics before interventions, you can reorder that by clicking and dragging. Similarly, at any sort of layer in the hierarchy, you can do this. So if you wanted the demographics question before the trial phase question, you can do that and reorder things that way. Next up, importing templates. So again, when you're in the edit mode, you can navigate to this cloud icon in the middle of the page, and you'll notice that you have some public templates here. These templates are available to everyone to utilize, and if you're part of an organization that has templates, you will also be able to access those and import those here. But for anyone starting from scratch, I would recommend start with the General Pico AI Optimized template. What you can do is import this whole thing and make any edits from there, or you can import from a root tag. So let's say you just want this study design question, select that root tag and import just that piece. And it can always be easier to sometimes it can be easier to add in a template, start from there rather than start it from scratch. So definitely utilize our public templates there. Lastly, you can always search for tags, especially when you have a larger tag hierarchy. So let's say I want to find the tag mortality. It's down here and it will be auto-selected for you, so you can go straight in and edit. Lastly, I wanted to come back to the tag contents that we talked about. So by default, you'll notice that it'll say text under content mode, but we also offer 3 other types of content mode. So we have text as default, text options, table, and numeric. To show you an example of the text options, trial phase can be a good one. And what text options is, it allows you to create a drop-down of options with no accompanying text. So in this case, I created options for phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. And to show you what that looks like in comparison to creating a select type question with child tags, I'll actually go back into the tagging module again and show you exactly what that looks like here. So when you create options, it will just create this drop down of options that you've created, but you'll have no accompanying text box that you can add evidence to. Whereas if you had a select type question, you can select that child tag and add additional evidence here. If you're creating options, it can be sometimes more helpful as it creates a bit of a cleaner export. So it really depends on your type of project that you want to, how you want to configure the hierarchy to match your exports. So to give you an idea of how these question types look in the export, I'll navigate to this table. So since this was a single apply question with text options, that's what it will show within the export here. Whereas the study design will show the option, the child tag of randomized controlled trial, as well as the data, the evidence that was collected in that text box alongside of it. So depending on how much evidence you want to collect, you might choose between text options and actual child tags for a select type question. But regardless of what tag contents you're choosing, I would always recommend keeping a single apply question if you do not have any child tags. The next content mode is the table content mode. So this can be really great for subgroup extraction, really helpful there. And what you can do is add in different columns here. So for this demographics tag, I've created these different column headers here. And you can also create options to be selected underneath that column, so within those cells. So to do that, I'd select group, and then you'll see add option in selected column. So here I've just added the 4 interventions that we are interested in as those options to be chosen from. To show you what that looks like on the tagging page, it looks like this. So we created those options underneath group where we can select those interventions, whereas these, the rest of the columns will be left blank. Okay, and the last content mode is the numeric. So for questions where you just want a number as an answer, you can change that content mode to numeric and show you what that looks like. So for number of patients, it will look like this and will only allow you to add in a numerical value and no text alongside of it. So keeping the content mode as a text content mode is the most flexible, allows you to add in that additional evidence, but oftentimes if you like to collect more evidence within table format, keep it slicker within text options, or keep it more structured with numeric, you can choose and have that flexibility there. Lastly, The hierarchy is by default in this sort of left to right view, but if you want it to be from top to bottom, you can use this icon up here. That'll show you, study details at the top, questions, and then the answers at the bottom. And then lastly, what you can also do is zoom. So whatever device you're on, you should be able to zoom into the hierarchy and move around, which will allow you to see the tags a little bit better, which can be helpful for, again, those larger hierarchies. Great, and as always, you can go to Ask AI up here if you have any questions, how to configure the tag hierarchy, any other questions about tagging, you can pop them in here. You'll have some sources, any further reading, but you can always contact us if you have specific questions. Great, that's how to configure a tag hierarchy in Nested Knowledge. Thanks so much for joining today, guys. Bye.